Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Learning Torah Lishma. Something that we really have to fix, and it's a non-negotiable. When it comes to a child, it's non-negotiable. You see the kids, they go to school, or in the Jewish world, they go to yeshiva, and they learn about, so in a regular school, there's just, social studies, I don't know, learns about math and history and all these different things. And, in Jewish school, they have to learn that also, but then they also have what we call Limudei Kodesh, learning the Bible, learning about spirituality and being close to God. Now I want to focus on the secular studies, that both Jews in America are learning and Goyim are learning. We have other shurim talking about maybe we actually have to make a shir specifically about the Jewish studies. There's a big mistake happening there that needs to be fixed. But they are learning Jewish studies, you understand? They're learning about God, they're learning about the Bible, they're learning Gemara, you understand? Now, are they using a very inefficient way of teaching? Yes. Could they be accomplishing 1 billion times more in each child? Yes. But they are teaching spirituality. That's another time. That's another, that's for another time. Now I want to focus on the secular studies. And it's very interesting that people are not coming out, whether they're in public school or even a lot of people in private school. You understand? And people are not coming out being an accountant. People are not coming out knowing how to start a business. People are not coming out, knowing being an electrician, how to fix cars, how to programming. They're literally spending endless amounts of time in school, so much time, and for years, after everything, it's like they learn about the only thing that's really valuable there is the fact that they know how to read and write and that they know basic math. Everything else is just nonsense. History, of course, they don't really teach them very well, history. But yeah, you should know the history of the country you're in. Appreciate what God did, the miracles that God made to make this country happen, the people that made it happen. You understand? Absolutely. So, but all this, doesn't take so long. What are they doing all that time? You understand? Learning about things. School, the point of school is to prepare you for life. So, yes, first you need to be taught how to read and write. That could be argued. People make money without reading and writing, but it's understood that a complementary aspect of learning, the focus of school is to teach you how to make money in a good legal way, in an honest way, you understand? That's the focus of the school, to respect the country that you're in, you understand? To be a good citizen. So they should be teaching, you should come out, they should figure out what type of job interests you, that actually makes money, and put you on that path to learning it. They should teach you lots about taxes so that you don't make a mistake. Everybody's making mistakes because no one knows anything. You understand? You can't just blame the people, even though they're, as an adult, you always have to take full responsibility. But as a people who are setting up the system, they have to take full responsibility, which is the government, because why don't you teach the tax law in school? That people should know basic tax law and how to fill out forms and how to do things. You understand? We're not talking about advanced, just basics. Basics. And people should know the history of their country. They don't have to know every single thing, but they should know the basics. You understand? And with the so many years that a child's there, they should know so much, you know? They should they should know tons, you understand? And yet they know almost nothing, because they learn everything that has to do with nothing, that has nothing to do with their life, that they'll never use in life. There'll be one person that will use it, you understand? We're not talking about one person. We're talking about the majority of people. And for that one person, then yes, you should teach them that. The point is, school is the focus to create an adult, that he's a good person, he's able to sustain himself, he's able to bring in money, you understand? He's able to keep the tax law, he knows history of his country. This is basic secular studies. Secular studies is not just to learn about things, just to have wisdom. They're not philosophers. Now, if someone wants to be a philosopher, that's a different thing. But the people coming, the school is basically made in a way like for a philosopher, you understand? Which it does a bad job at that also, terrible job. But it's not meant for reality, and it's a shame. There's so much money spent on teaching kids, and they're not even taught a job, a work, nothing. You understand? Absolute waste of money. Absolute waste of money. You know, in many scenarios, it would be better that the kid just got into work not knowing how to read and write, and who would be better off than wasting all that time in school, all those years, if he would have started working. You understand? Of course, according to his age, in a healthy way. But if he would have started working, he would be much more successful, not knowing how to read and write, not even knowing, just knowing basic math. You understand? In his mind, he understands that two things is two and one. You understand? He would be more successful that way than through the school system. You understand? The problem today is that you have a bunch of sugar mamas, and sugar papas, that everything the kid wants, he just gets, you just pay for. And in the olden days, if at 6 years old, even younger sometimes, but at 6 years old, if you didn't figure out how to make him money, you didn't survive. You understand? Now, Baruch Hashem, thank God that we have plentiful in America and other countries. There are countries that it's still like that, and you see the kids come out much better. So the question is, what do you do now when you are plentiful? The answer is that you could do it. You're in these countries that it's third world country, there's literally kids dying in mines, getting those material, coke oil, whatever it's called, for batteries. You understand? Dying in mines, and you understand? So those kids, the ones that most of them survive, they're real men, they're real people. You understand? Their children respect them, either working in the mines, you understand? But he's doing something. A woman respects that. You understand? Now, thank God, in first countries, we don't have such things. And it could be in the beginning it was something that was allowed, but thank God it's been gotten rid of, things like that. But at the same time, we got to get the kids starting to move. You're starting to say, if you want that bicycle, I'm not buying it for you. You're going to have to make some money. And the kid could learn how to make money, and we don't have to have kids dying, because it's done in a safe, healthy way. You understand? That should be the difference between a third world country and a first world country, is that you don't have kids dying when they're working. But you understand? But both should be working. You understand? In the third world country, they're working just to survive. But in a first world country, they're working so they should be able to get a bicycle. Of course, talking about, in a proper way, in a healthy way, and when it's not dangerous for the child. When a person's very young, they can't just do things that someone who's a full adult could do. You understand? The body's not built for that. It's in the process of developing, and the minds are not ready for that. So, but there's still tons that they could do that doesn't involve that. You understand? That is safe. There's endless things to do, and that's what we need to get them to do. And you just say, I'm your papa, I'm your mama. You're only getting the bare minimums. That's it. You want extra? You want a Slurpee? You want an ice cream? You want you want to you want to get a bicycle? You want to get an electric scooter? All these things. You want to go on a trip to Israel? You want to do this and that? You got to come up with the money. You got to come up with that money. And you help them, you train them, you show them, you guide them. You as a parent, you keep them safe. You understand? Instead, it became that first world countries, they're just now producing, kids. You understand? That's it. It's not that they have kids and they make them into adults. They're producing kids just to be a proper child with literally basic moral understandings of right and wrong they don't have. You understand? You're just trying to get them to just have them to even have the common sense of a child. You understand? This is what's happening. And the more we say no work, college, and all this garbage, the more it's just gonna get worse and worse. You gotta break out of this false covered. Oh my goodness, I got accepted to Harvard. I got accepted to Yale, Columbia University. Almost no one gets accepted. You understand? I have to take out the loan. I got accepted. Spit at it. Spit at Harvard. Spit at Yale. Spit at Columbia University. All these crazy places. Laugh at them. You go and make your life and make sure they have nothing to do with it. All these wackos. You get into life. God made it that when you do, you succeed. When you procrastinate with all these nonsense, you need to first learn this, you need to first learn that. You first need to do this, you first need to be this age, you first need to do this and that, blah, 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 blah. You have to go to college, and blah, 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 blah. This is all procrastination, and procrastination, guess where you go? Nowhere. You begin. The government is going to start saying, you know what? If the government keeps on making everything that people want to do, you have to get a license for this, for that, for this, for that. Making people crazy. You have to update the license. It's $200, $100 every year to, you have to comply with this and that. If people would just say, you know what? Unless you just make it that there's none of this paperwork, none of this garbage, we're not going to do it. You understand? We're going to move out of this state. We're going to go to places that are normal. And don't try to get money out of every single way possible. Property tax, every time you buy something, it's tax. Tax, they force you to have to get to pay for certain registrations there's no reason to have to pay for them. You have a license plate, you have to re-register every year, every 2 years. I registered, you have the license plate. It's not going away. You understand? Why do I have to keep on re-registering and paying more money and more money and more money and more money? These people, you understand? Just get them where you can. You want to sell a house, you have to go to learn, you have to become a realtor. No, you don't. Do it without it. And if the state blocks you, you say, okay, guess what? We're going to a different state. That's it. People literally, you have a bunch, There's people, literally, why are you living there? I understand it's hard to move. Your family, you have you have your synagogue, you have your place, your holy place in that city, and this and that. But people have to start learning that, this is part of life, unfortunately. It used to be in the olden days, because of war and famine and pogroms and who knows what. People were running all around, people chasing them, killing them, Jews and non-Jews. You understand? Jews a lot more, but this was something common in the not too long ago, and especially in the ancient world. Today, instead of someone coming out to capture you and your family and sell you into slavery, they're doing slavery in a different way, with taxes, with property tax, raising taxes, meaning you built the house, you paid for the house. Why are you paying property tax on your house? You built it, you understand? Absolute nonsense. So, if there's, I would say no property tax. But if they're going to make property tax, it should be just on the land. You understand? Why are you paying property tax on your house? It's just absolute not. Because I built a nice house, now I have to pay more taxes? Just on the land, if anything. I would say don't do any property tax. What are taxes? All the other taxes you're doing, it's supposed to be to keep the place together. It's not that those taxes are a given, they go nowhere, and then you have property tax to keep the town in order. It doesn't work that way. It's all this nonsense every time. It's just look at how to pay taxes, the IRS, all this. They're like they'll come after you with the most sophisticated technology ever. But to give you away that you can actually pay your taxes, that it's a simple app that you open up. It's the IRS app. Everything is there. Everything is free. You don't have to sit and pay to get a paper. Yeah, they have walkthroughs. They have videos showing you how to do each thing. You tell them, that there they don't do anything with it. But when it comes to throwing someone in jail, you understand? They have the greatest technology. Such an embarrassment. Such an embarrassment. Wasting the money that people give them. It's such nonsense. And even the few grants that are good, they don't even check to see if the person is actually doing what he's supposed to do. It's like absolutely bonkers what's going on over here. Bonkers. People are homeschooling, but they're still doing the same mistake. They're still with the stupid low-level learning. Teach them. You figure out the areas that excite them, that if they did it in their life, they would be happy working, doing this thing, servicing people in this area. And then teach them, try to get as much as you can pushed in through that vessel. You understand? That's what needs to be done. It's like literally, if I was homeschooling a child, he would come out, first of all, he would come out an accountant, taxes, very important to know. He would come out knowing the history of the land that he came from. And he would come out knowing how to open up a business, how loans work, and what's good debt, what's bad debt. You understand? The areas that he really likes to do, and how each area, there are aspects. If you do it in this way, you make a little money. If you do it that way, that's where a lot of money is. You understand? And you put the life together. People are homeschooling, and it's there's all the gay and all this crazy transgender, all this other crazy things aren't being taught, thank God, but they're still not teaching them what the real things, you understand, in life. You understand? The reality of life. You got to be able to put bread on the table. You understand? That's not being taught. You have to have a good character. That's not being taught. You have to know good, you have to know the tax law. That's not being taught. They have to know, they have to have a good idea of taxes. A good general, I would say, go the whole way. When he's 14, he should be at the level of an accountant. You understand? Why not teach him that? Especially if you're not a family that's Jewish. You don't have to teach him Jewish studies. So you have so much time, and even someone that's Jewish, so you might not be able to do everything. I would say do everything, but if you think it can't be done, so then you could give them a good basic understanding. You understand? A very deep basic understanding. And therefore they can make sure that they do what needs to be done, and according to the law. They should know the history, be proud of where they, you understand, of the country that they're in. Be proud of the history. If it has a bad history, okay, know how to protect yourself, and try to see what you can do to make a future good history. It's shocking. It's shocking what goes on. The nonsense, how people just go through life, this robotic nonsense without thinking. You have to know, in every aspect of life, you have to take it completely seriously. Everything. When it comes to spirituality, completely serious. When it comes to working, completely serious. When it comes to ethics, completely serious. When it comes to raising kids, completely serious. When it comes to treating your spouse correctly, completely serious. Everything you got to take seriously. You don't need to buy the biggest house, and the financials in your family are squirming. Buy a house like Elon Musk. You understand? Buy a nice house that you can always add a bunk bed if you have another child. You understand? And that's it. You don't need these huge bombastic houses, 3, 4, 5 stories high, the size of a football field. You don't need it. It's all garbage. It's nonsense. Buy a smaller house. If you're a person that's well-to-do, you get a good Shomer HaPesach. You get a good a guy to watch, a security team, and that's it. You understand? We got to start taking our life serious. The lives of our children, the lives of our spouses, we got to start taking it seriously. Hashem, God should open up our eyes to His Torah, to the wisdom that it says there. You understand? This is where I'm getting it all from. It's also common sense. You understand? But when you learn the words of the sages, it's right there. The sages, they say, to the sages, of course you're teaching the child, about spirituality, about the Bible, of course. But you know what it says? School for a child, for secular studies, it's a 2-liner or 1-liner in the Gemara. You know what it says? You need to teach them a trade. That's it. Work. You have to teach them how to make a parnasa, how to put bread on the table. What's it worth? Geometry, philometry, all these nonsense. You understand? They have to be able to put bread on the table. You teach them basic math, basic how to read and write. You don't need to get into all the anatomy of a person. They're not a doctor, you understand? If they want to become a doctor, that's a different thing, you understand? But if he's not planning to be a doctor, who cares about it? He doesn't need to know that. He needs to know, let's say he wants to become a mechanic. He needs to know how cars work, how to fix cars. If it's a Tesla, if it's a if it's a hybrid, if it's just gas, this is what he needs to know. You understand? You teach him a trade. You understand? If a person wants to be someone that drives, when they're building a building, they have to make sure it doesn't fall in. You teach him. He has to know where to put the beams and everything. You teach him that. What What does he take enjoyment in doing? And then you have to tweak it to something that actually makes good money. You understand? And the child comes out of school. You think if children were learning in school how to become a real human being, like we're discussing, you think they're going to be on the streets trying everything they can not to get into school, bringing guns in school, that now you have to have these detectors and knives. Teachers are afraid to teach. Crazy what's going on. And thank God it's not to that extent in Jewish schools, but it's just this, they're there, but they're just, there's nothing happening, nothing of value happening. It's so sad. Even in Jewish studies, why doesn't he come out knowing well the halachos of Shabbos? It's like one of the basic things of Judaism. It's like if you just learn Gemara and you learn Ian, everything will happen. It's such a low IQ way of looking at life, at the reality of life. You think that's what Hashem wants? It's such nonsense. We have to start going up about. We have to start connecting with other parents in the community. The kids have to start speaking up and say, I don't want to spend all these years doing nothing. If you want to become somebody, if you want to go somewhere, you got to pick yourself up. You got to stand up for yourself. You got to stand up for your kids. Get together. And you tell the school, either this is happening or we're opening up our own school. And you're going to go talk to the Aisher in the community. You're going to explain to him. You're going to say, we spoke to the school. If you want, you could also try, but this needs to happen. What's happening there is not good for your kids. It's not good for our kids. It's not good for us, for our families, that we're producing a bunch of nobodies. You have to understand, AI is coming. The whole way the world works is going to change. There's going to be tons of jobs, but it's all going to change how things work. You got to get your kids prepared for that. And stop with this stupid idea that money will just fall from heaven. If I learn, money will come. You're not the Rashbi. You're not Rabbi Akiva. You're not Rabbi Meir. Stop with the baloney pastrami. We have to love our kids. We have to learn to love ourselves. Love our kids. If we really, sometimes there's so much happening and we can't breathe and we're just we can't think. I'm here to think for you. That's what I'm telling you this. So you can get yourself out of this rut. Yes, you could work. Yes, you're allowed to make money and learn. You could do both, you understand? It's not one or the other. You start getting yourself out of this rut. Then all of a sudden you realize, wait a second, look what's happening to my kids. I don't have to blind myself because I can't do anything. I'm actually able to do something now. I'm making some money. You understand? I'm able to give my kids a better future. These people that want to brainwash all their nonsense. In Judaism, you have these people that claim to be, religious and spew all this nonsense. I mean, they think they're so religious because they're spewing the levels that they're saying you're supposed to be on the level of the Rashbi. It's such stupidity and nonsense. In the secular world, all this garbage that's being spewed out there. You make your child into a real man. That's the biggest protection that could ever happen. I was just watching a podcast. What's his name? PBT, whatever. It said something happened with his child. You understand? You know why something happened with the child? Because you're not teaching him right now a job. You're not getting him involved. He's not working. You're not teaching him on the job. You're just teaching him school. I don't even know if he's going to regular school, private school, whatever it is. They're teaching him garbage. That's why he's turning out like that. If you would make him into a man If you would know I could get married at 18, you're not going to push me to 25. You're not going to push me to 22. If he knew he could get married, if the parent signs off, he could get married earlier. If he knew that, and he'd teach him how to support his family, you think he's going to be going and doing stuff? He's not going to do that. Even people that are very rich, they themselves don't realize it. Such simple truths. Sometimes we have to take a step back and really take each aspect of our life and take it serious. And we have to know every aspect of our life. We have to keep looking. We figure out all these different aspects of our life, all these different things. There's my spouse, there's me, there's my children, there's each child. And we have to take out time. In a month, we have to go through that whole list and see, how can we make it better? What am I missing? He doesn't respect you. I make money, I work. Yes, but the way you're teaching him is that you're teaching him like a fool. He comes out with nothing. Right now, why he could be making millions at his age. Legally, at 14, 15, legally, he could be making millions. Why isn't he doing that? Why aren't you saying, you know what, encouraging him to get married early? And don't worry, I'll sign that you could get married early. Parents give, I think, 2 years before the allotted age of 18 there, and I think in some places even earlier than 18, you're allowed to legally get married. And the parents could make it 2 years earlier that you could get married if they sign off. You say, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get to other rich people, in his group, or it doesn't have to be rich, but I'm just guessing the way they think. But I'm going to get them involved in making their daughter into a real woman. She learns how to bake and cook. It's crazy. Women don't know how to cook. If they don't get married, they never learn how to make Shabbos. They don't know recipes. They don't know how to make breakfast, supper, dinner, the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Crazy what's going on over here. You teach them so much about everything that's unnecessary to know. Start teaching them what they need to know. Woman, she has to know how to bake. She has to learn how to not lose her heart, her love. The world is trying to rip the woman out of the woman, make the woman into a man. The woman has to appreciate that they're a woman. Your success is not being better than a man. You're never going to be better than a man. He has his strong aspects and you have yours. And just like the man respects your strong aspects, you need to respect his strong aspects. Absolutely crazy nonsense that's going on today. And the sad part is that the people that can actually change it, they don't even do that for their own kids. And they don't even realize. It's like choshech al pnei sa'im, it's like chas haaretz, I don't know. It's like there's like this blackness, like when the Twin Towers exploded, the blackness in the air. There's like this blackness, this gloom that upon us all, that no one realizes anything. If they have wisdom, it's only in one or two aspects. Everything else, they're clueless. So sad. It's so sad. Let's open up our eyes. Let's see the light. If you need to take a helicopter and fly above it, do that. You understand? I love you, and Hashem loves you more.